Everybody, welcome to Ask the Professor. Professor Ben, your host. We are joined by Ari, our producer, who makes all this come to life every Wednesday for you. And we're talking all things influence, leadership, business, sales. So we want to see your questions right now. You can start putting your questions in. We'll try our best to get to all of them. And let's learn. Let's show up and actually do something now that we're here. Right, Ari?
Yep, that's what we're here for.
Heck yeah, that's why we're here. And thank you, Ari, for jumping in and making all this happen like you always do. So let's dig into our topic today. We're talking about conflict. We're talking about DISC assessment and communication styles, and why we need to understand each other's communication styles if we want to be able to embrace healthy conflict on our teams at work instead of avoid conflict or make conflict a disaster at every team meeting and beyond. So this is important stuff for us to dig into. And if you're not convinced that you need to embrace healthy conflict, Ari, there's this crazy stat, and we've put this up on the screen. Yeah, we put this on the screen pretty much every time we talk about this, and that is the cost of conflict. Unresolved conflict costs us billions just in the US, right? Just lost productivity. And so if there's conflict on your team, it's important as the team lead to step up and bring that to a resolution. Most importantly is to create a culture where a healthy conflict is something that's embraced, that's a norm for everybody on the team, regardless of their disc style. And that way we can increase creativity, increase productivity, and avoid these costs of unresolved issues on our team. It's really important. And you got to know what it looks like when there is conflict on your team. So I think people think of conflict and they're thinking, okay, people are yelling at each other, or people are being stubborn and talking behind each other's back. Yes, that's conflict, right? That's unhealthy conflict in your team. We've got to resolve that. Conflict can also show up on the other side of the spectrum here, and that looks like apathy. This is where everyone has this artificial harmony of, you know what, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to put my neck out there. I'm just going to nod and smile. And that also reduces creativity, also reduces productivity. That is unhealthy conflict on your team. So whether you're seeing aggression or like obvious conflict on your team, or you're seeing apathy and you're seeing just people nodding their head and just kind of going about their business, you've got unresolved conflict. And as a team lead, you got to fix that. You got to make that part of your culture. And what does this look like? Where does this come in? Ari, like help the audience out as they're putting their questions in. What is healthy conflict versus unhealthy conflict? What does that look like?
Yeah, so unhealthy conflict focuses more on those like personal attacks that we talked about earlier, that you brought
Mhm.
up earlier. There's a lot of negative emotion, probably like a lot of like spite or being like some stubbornness, while healthy conflict is more open communication, coming from focusing on the issues rather than saying like, hey, you didn't do this because you're lazy. Like that's definitely unhealthy conflict. And then also being like constructively working together as a team. That's healthy conflict right there. And having everyone included in who needs to be included in the conversation, not leaving one person out, like a vital person out of the conversation.
Oh man, so these are so helpful and eye opening. All right, I think it's important for all of us to just accept the fact that for some people this is a learned behavior. I would say for most people this is a learned behavior, right? Our emotions, the amygdala in our brain, right, our fight or flight in our brain wants to go to the right side here, the unhealthy conflict, the defense mode or the aggressive mode. That is really how our brains are wired. In fact, in a meeting, right, our amygdala receives information and processes information twice as fast as our prefrontal cortex, our executive function part of our brain. So we are more likely to act aggressive than we are executive when we're in a situation of conflict. And so what you see on the right side, Ollie, what you pointed out here, unfortunately, this is kind of our normal state as humans. So in order to achieve what's on the left side, the healthy conflict, we have to be intentional. This is a learned behavior that we need to be aware of, bring to the forefront so we can engage our prefrontal cortex and do some of these positive things that we're talking about.
Yeah, I love it. I love the science behind it because if you just think about it, it's our natural reaction, and you're like, why do I act like that? And it's it's science, and that you've got to kind of take it into your own hands and say, okay, I know I get defensive about this, but that's not productive. Let me take an additional step to make it productive.
You have to take that additional step. Very well said. You've got to take that additional step, be intentional, and engage that prefrontal cortex. And this all ties into, this is going to be different for our communication style. Like where we fall on the disc map is going to play a role in that because of how we perceive this. So Ari, if you don't mind, help the audience, for those that are maybe joining us for the first time or maybe are not familiar with disc. What is disc and what are those 4 styles that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, so here's a little cheat sheet that we have, and all the styles are different. No style is better than one or another. We all have our strengths and our blind spots. So that's very important to remember as we're going through this conversation. So our
Right.
C styles, they love the data. They're the analysts and experts of the group. So they want to see that data. Meanwhile, the I styles probably are like, it's okay about that data. I just want to be involved. They want to be included in the conversation, part of the collaboration. They just want to be in it. While the D styles probably don't want to be in the conversation all the time. They just want to be brief, be bright, be gone, and then go about their day. Meanwhile, the S styles, they don't want the be brief, be bright, be gone. They want to see that you care. They want to have that relationship with you. So it's all very different, but very vital to have all styles in a team.
So let's keep this slide on here because this is great, and it's a really good kind of shortcut to understanding the styles and what it is that their perception feels like they need at the moment. I love, Ari, how you went diagonal when you explained each one, because you can see the compare and contrast between the diagonal sides there, and that's something we should all be aware of, because an S and a D style sometimes are going to be like oil and water
Yeah.
until they realize that they balance each other out so well. And same with that C and that I style. So when we feel like we're clashing with somebody, if we become a little more open-minded and understand that they're filling in some blanks for us based on their diagonal style, we can now be more productive in our team or even our pairs as we're working together. We might still drive each other nuts, get in each other's skin, but we can also be more productive. So that's an important part of teams working together and understanding this. So thank you for going through that for us. So
Yeah.
let's also take what you just said into account here and maybe pinpoint how each of these styles are going to approach conflict. Right. And oh, great. Okay, great visual here. So, like, let's check this out in D style. I think when we talk about conflict, probably D style maybe is what comes to mind most often, confronting conflict head on. So, when a D style sees conflict, they want to, I'm not going to use the word attack because that's not what they're trying to do, right? They want to handle it. Now, it might come across as an attack, but they want to handle it. They see conflict and they say, okay, let's embrace this. What's going on? Now, how might an S style respond to that? Ari, I'll put you on the spot as our resident S style. How might an S style respond to that D style just saying, hey, there's conflict, I'm here?
Yeah, and I am definitely guilty of this early in my career, but an S style avoids conflict altogether. And the worst part is that they hold their opinions and their
Mm.
thoughts and ideas back. And Ben, we talked about this earlier in the episodes, but that definitely stifles creativity and definitely missed opportunities over there.
Man, so that is the most important point, I think, out of all of this. So, yes, we've got emotions and we've got humans involved here, and we've got to take that into account because it is very important. When you zoom out, look at the big picture, not only are people's feelings getting hurt, but creativity on your team is lowering, right? It's maybe not even existent. And here's the thing to be aware of is there are more S styles on this planet than there are D styles. So if you have a team, let's say 10 people, you've got 3D styles, you've got 5 S styles, so maybe some C's and some I's in there as well. If the D style is overpowering the others, you just went from 10 brains to 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see how that reduces buy-in, that reduces creativity, that reduces productivity, and it also pulls the team apart. It's not the D's fault. They're not doing this in order to create mayhem. What they're doing is just saying, hey, there's conflict, and I'm going to talk about it. So we've got to find a way on our teams so that we can get the insight from the S styles, because S styles are just as smart and bright as anybody else, and we need their opinion for our team to be successful.
Yeah, I like what you said about the D styles. They are not coming from a bad place. They're
Yep.
coming from what they think is right. And that's an important thing to remember for all of these styles. What their natural reaction is what they think is going to help the team overall.
Absolutely. So let's look at an I style, right? So the way an I style approaches conflict is like, hey guys, it's not that bad, right? Maybe they're thinking this in their mind, like, we don't need to address this right now. That'll take away the fun from what we're doing. So let's avoid this topic for now. We'll deal with that later, right? Whereas the C style is going to go, whoa, whoa, whoa. We need to gather more information. This is about accuracy, and this is not about trying to maintain the peace or the fun. This is about getting to the crux of what's happening. So we need more data, more information, more processes to address this conflict. And we can see how different those two are and really how different each one is from each other.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding how each of these styles is going to approach conflict, like we were talking about earlier, they're not coming from a place of trying to be destructive. They're coming from a place of what they feel like is the right way to approach this. And Ari, you said this earlier today. You preach this a lot because it's so true, and that is that all of these perspectives are great. They're all accurate. They're all right. We need all of these in order for our team to gel correctly and be as productive as possible. So we don't want to look at this as say one's better than the other, because we need all these approaches.
Mm-hmm.
It changes a lot. So if I'm a D style, right? I'm a DC. What changes do I need to make when facing conflict? Like, how do I make sure that I'm not coming across as too aggressive or too assertive or someone who's just trying to blow it up? And the first thing I need to do, or for our D styles, what we need to do is be aware of other people's opinions. Look at the big picture of what's happening. Don't just come in and just storm with your opinions. Your opinions might be great, but I'll
Mm-hmm.
tell you right now, for all of us, all of our D styles out there, is our one opinion is not going to be great as the collective opinion of our make believe team of 10 here. We need everybody's insight. And so we've got to just listen a little bit more and realize that there are other opinions that matter, and we need to let them come to the forefront. You'll see a lot of D styles, Ari, that are trained in DISC and that understand that how they've been perceived all their career, and they'll come to me and say, what I do now is I just listen more. I try to be the last to speak, whereas for years in my career I tried to be the first to speak. And they realize the value of that. It doesn't mean they're not going to speak up at all. It just means that they're going to get everybody's point of view before they do, and that can be game changing for your career by far. What does an S style do? Let's go diagonal like you did earlier.
Oh man.
What do we need to do for S style?
So for an S style, I know you think that, because I've thought it, that your opinion may not be valid or as like great as you think it is, but in reality it is. Your team wants to hear your perspective. So just try to be a little bit more open and express your opinions and your ideas. Try to be a little bit assertive. It's kind of funny, like an S style, they think that their version of being assertive is like, oh no, that's too hard, that's too much. Like, Your assertive at like 50% is probably going to be at a 5% for a D.
Yeah.
So go
Yeah.
ahead and like, conflict is natural. Um, providing your ideas and your opinions is natural in a team dynamic. So don't be afraid.
I'm going to add one thing to that, Ari, if I may. You said that the team wants to hear your opinion, and I agree with that totally. I'm going to add the team needs to hear your opinion as well. Because the S styles need to understand that, like, by holding back, which they feel like is the right thing to do, could actually be detrimental to the team because we're not getting your really good ideas. So we need your really good ideas. And Ari, you have saved the day countless amounts of times in the times that we've worked together. So thank goodness you have really learned to speak up in your career like you have, because we need your S style opinions for sure. And so C styles, sometimes we look at this a little too cold. Like we forget that there's a human side to the conflict. And so as C styles, let's remember that we're talking to humans, that there's emotion involved in these conversations, and it can't just be about the data and the facts. Yes, that's what we need to focus on. At the same time, we need to keep the emotional side of that in the forefront so that we remember we're all humans. We're all working through this together, and we're not going to just cut everybody down because there was a mistake that was made on the team. I'm raising my hand on that one as a DC style. It's an important trait to pick up on and learn for sure. And what about those I styles, Ari?
Oh man, those I styles, they're charismatic, they are fun and energetic, and it could be easy to not focus on the issue at hand because you want to maintain that cohesive team, maintain that harmony that you have. But it's important to address the conflict, maybe like a D style, address the conflict head on and not really dance around those issues, and also kind of embrace the criticism and feedback that you're receiving instead of being like having your guard up and being defensive about it.
All of that is so impactful. And you made us another little cheat sheet for the audience
Oh,
so that we could say, okay, what do I need to do to navigate conflict based on my disc style? So check this out. So D style, here's your cheat sheet. Focus on the bigger picture, not just winning, not just getting to the bottom line. Okay. Yes, we know you want to be brief, be bright, and be gone. Others on your team need a little bit more than that, and we're asking you to step up, right? We're asking you to focus on that bigger picture. I'll go to C Styles again too because he's to speak to me so bad. Be open and be flexible. This is probably the hardest thing for me to learn for conflict and just things that are going on in teams in general throughout my career. And guess what, C Styles out there? I've learned that when I become more flexible and more open, like so many good things are happening out there that go beyond just the C style accuracy and data driven personalities. Okay, so be open and you'll get your eyes, you will see things that are much better than you ever thought were possible. It happens to me all the time now that I've learned how to do that. What's the cheat sheet for S and I?
oh
Ari?
man, I'll start off with the I styles. So stay calm and address the issues with focus. And that's
Oh, that's hard.
issue.
That's hard.
Point is with focus. So focus on
Mhm.
the issue and only that issue. Collaborate with your team. I know you guys like to get involved. This is the perfect time to collaborate with your
Great
team.
point.
And with the S styles, don't avoid conflict. Your voice matters. And I know as an S style, you want to see that others care. This is your turn to show that you care about your team and about the results in the end. So use your voice, share your opinions.
Ari, I really love how you added like this extra part of use your superpowers.
Mhm.
Right. So, like, as a D style, it's great that you are embracing the conflict head on. We all need to do that. I styles, it's great that you want to keep it fun and light. Like, we all need that as well. And C styles, yes, we need the accuracy. And S styles, we do need to all be patient and listen to each other. So, there are superpowers that each one of these communicators are bringing to the team. And then there's these blind spots that this cheat sheet helps us remember. This is great. For all of you that are watching this, man, take a screenshot of this and pin it up somewhere so you remember as you're going to the team, your next team meeting. And that way you can be part of the solution as your team is navigating this conflict. And we've got you got some questions that came in through LinkedIn. I think they came in for you. So what were some of those questions, Ari, that we had? Let's see if we can tackle some of these.
Ooh, I love this question.
Ooh, what's this? Okay.
Experienced it. I'm not afraid to raise my hand and say this happens to me or happened to me. So if an S style shuts down when tension rises, how can you make it feel safe and constructive? This is a great.
Okay. I love this question. I'm going to jump in, Ari, with some technical topics, and then if you would, to chime in on just some like the real life side of this. But so one of the first things that we need to do, and actually I would change this question to when an S style shuts down, when tension rises, right? It's not if, it's when. It's a matter of when, because it's going to happen. So how do we make it feel safe? And as a team leader, I'm sure you have S styles on your team, right? They're the majority of the population out there, so they're probably on your team. It is up to us to create team norms around conflict. We need to have a process, the way that this team handles these types of high tension conversations that are inevitable and, by the way, needed on our team. So up front, before the tension ever does arise, let's make sure we're having these conversations. What are the rules of engagement when it comes to conflict and high tense situations? Now, while it's happening in the heat of the moment, what does the science tell us that we can do? The number one thing we can do is label the situation. There's so much research that shows that just by verbally labeling what's happening right now is the best way to get our prefrontal cortex to engage in the situation, right? So instead of our amygdala causing us to freeze if we're S styles and we just shut down, by labeling what's going on. So for example, Ari, if I say, hey, look, I know this is a high tense situation, and it's important for us to get through this together as a team, right? That gives your prefrontal cortex just a few seconds it needs to engage and go, okay, we're still a team. Everyone's feeling the same way, and we're all going to get through this together. Now, as an S style, I should be able to get involved much easier. Now, that's the science behind it. That's the textbook that we need to know as leaders. Ari, how does that resonate with you? What does that look like?
Yeah. So if an S style is starting to shut down because of the tension, a couple things that you can do with your body language and your tone is to lower the intensity. Have open communication, open body language. That's S styles are very receptive when it comes to tone and body language. So taking the initiative and kind of lowering it down to meet them where they're at kind of gets them to feel safe and ready for a constructive conversation. I love that you said label it, because they're internalizing, like, am I feeling the tension? Is it just in my head? But if you label it, they'll let their guards down. So the most important one is to give them time to respond.
Yes.
Silence is their thinking and their processing. I know like the D's and the I styles like to move a little faster. The S style needs a little bit more time to process and make sure, look at it from all the different perspectives, because they love to overthink me.
That's a great point. And labeling helps do that, right? It's like, okay, we're getting some time here. So D styles, I styles, take that breath and just give that pause that the rest of the team needs. And while that might make the extroverts of the group feel uncomfortable, the introverts, man, their brain's going. They're thriving in those few seconds of silence, and we're going to get some great information from them. Speaking of great information, Ari, we're over time, like big time. And I know we got more questions, so maybe we do this next time we get together. This is a hot topic, obviously, for a lot of people. I see that looks like one of our common guests here is taking screenshots. So thank you for that, Iris, for jumping in. And that's what we're here for. Okay, is taking notes, taking screenshots, apply the information that we're talking about to your team right now. So leaders, watch this video over again and take notes. And for those of you that are up and coming leaders, you get to engage and be part of this on the front lines as your team is working together, so you can raise your hand, be part of the solution, and start really solving problems on your team. With that, I hate to say it, but we've got to go out of this episode. We're going to come back with more of your questions, and we'll do our best to answer them, and some more great content on DISC and other influence and leadership and sales and business questions. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Blood, sweat, and tears, we're falling right here. Don't give and take it. Blood, sweat, and tears. Please make this real.